This week on LTC News, Senator Markey speaks his mind.
Republicans down in Washington, they're in denial.
A celebration of women's creativity.
And the way in which our creativity is part of what we do both in work and outside of work.
And a healthy collaboration.
Bringing healthcare closer to the people that use healthcare.
Stay with us. Welcome to LTC News. I'm your news anchor, Alana Flood. Senator Ed Markey came to UMass Lowell for a town hall meeting on December 10th to discuss current topics in Washington. The opioid crisis and mass incarceration are major concerns.
Let's be honest, in the 1990s, we criminalized crack cocaine, put a couple of million African-American young men in prison without giving them treatment. And we now realize that we owe an apology to an entire generation of African-American young men because we did not give them the treatments which they needed for their disease. And that's
He's taking a stand on world climate change.
And for the Republicans down in Washington, they're in denial. I just went with 4 other United States senators, Democrats, to Bonn, Germany, as the whole world was gathering just 3 weeks ago, so that they realized that there was a whole group of people in the United States that disagreed with Donald Trump, just unbelievable. You know, we're the Bay State, but we're also the brain state. Huh? So, and especially when you're here on the campus of UMass Lowell, you know that smart people have already concluded that it is human activity that is causing this dramatic warming.
Other topics were the political crisis in Cambodia, net neutrality, and of course, the Republican tax bill.
So last Friday night, this is what happens. Last Friday night. So no Democrats are in the room. Hardly any Republicans are in the room. And so all of a sudden we get this bill, 500 pages long, and we're going to be voting on this tax bill for $1.5 trillion later on in the evening. So this is one of the pages here in the bill that was just kind of written in, add. And then what they did was they added all this language here at some time, maybe 15 minutes before they gave it to us, as to another tax break, which is in the bill that we're going to vote on. And then they passed it. We had the vote at about 2 o'clock in the morning on Saturday morning. And then with great confidence, the Republicans felt, well, now all they have to do is work it out with the Republicans in the House of Representatives. And how hard is that? They just have to figure out how to give more tax breaks to more people without any correlation with how it might impact the economy. But then Paul Ryan, the Speaker of the House, and then other Republicans all started to get very, very honest about what their agenda was. Then Paul Ryan says, and now our next agenda is to cut Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. $1.5 trillion of tax breaks, $1.5 trillion of a deficit, and how to solve the problem, $1.5 trillion worth of cuts.
You can watch the entire town hall meeting on LTC channels 8 and 99, on demand at www.ltc.org/watch. And now, making a guest appearance for the City Council synopsis is Lowell historian and Registrar of Deeds, Richard Howe.
Hi, I'm Dick Howe with your City Council synopsis for the meetings held on December 5th and December 12th. The latter meeting was the final one of this council term. The 3 departing councilors, Dan Rourke, Corey Belanger, and Jim Leary, all gave farewell remarks.
Tremendous experience.
Corey Belanger said that serving on the council has been a tremendous experience and that he will miss it terribly. He campaigned on economic development and public safety, and he feels that the city has made great improvements in both areas during his 4 years on the council. He also said that he will continue to stay involved and that there's a strong possibility that he may attempt a comeback in 2 years.
I've just been fortunate.
Councilor Leary said thanks to everyone who voted for him during his 2 years on the council and his 10 years on the school committee before that. He said he's been fortunate to represent a great city, and he said the people of Lowell have a remarkable spirit. He's going to miss being on the council, but he recalled that old saying that when one door closes, another opens. Councilor Dan Rourke thanked the people of Lowell and all who have supported him and assisted him. He cited his successful effort to bring Narcan, the drug that treats overdose victims, to Lowell as an important accomplishment. He also said that one of the best things he did as a city councilor was to help elect Kevin Murphy as city manager. This was likely Ed Kennedy's final meeting as mayor, so he shared some comments too. He said that this council worked together as a team, and for the most part, they were able to disagree without being disagreeable. That allowed them to get a lot accomplished during this term. Prior to the farewells, there were a number of items discussed by the council. A proposal to amend the city's zoning ordinance was taken up. Councilors adopted it, however, they deleted 2 items that proved controversial. One would have eliminated the parking requirements for micro businesses, which are businesses that occupy small spaces and have few employees. The other dealt with an existing portion of the zoning code that allows college dormitories to be constructed as long as public parking is available within 1,500 feet. Although the amendment dealt only with how that 1,500 feet would be measured, some councilors were concerned with that rule itself. Expect that that portion of the zoning code will be revisited in 2018. Caring for the homeless and the challenges that providing such care presents came up at both meetings. Police Superintendent William Taylor reported on increased enforcement efforts at Kerouac and Lucy Larcom parks. But the underlying issue was the presence of homeless people in both places. Taylor explained that many of the homeless are dealing with mental health and substance abuse issues, which requires the police to engage in social work functions as well as law enforcement. Councilors asked the city manager to convene a meeting with all relevant city departments and outside agencies to discuss this matter further. The next city council meeting will be January 2nd, 2018 at 10 o'clock. That's the inauguration ceremony when all councilors take the oath of office and elect a mayor. The next meeting after that will be that same evening, January 2nd, 2008. Check back with LTC after that for the next city council synopsis. I'm Dick Howe. Thanks for joining us today.
Lowell Community Health Center held a press conference on December 5th to announce a major renovation and a significant donation from one of their longtime partners. They've grown tremendously since their start in 1970.
How many of you knew that this health center was founded by Lowell General Hospital in 1970? All right, we're doing well.
Circle Health is focused on bringing healthcare closer to the people that use healthcare by making access easier and by supporting efforts that bring more care into the community. We're very pleased to announce a support of $1 million in support of Lowell Community Health Center's expansion of dental and vision services right here in downtown.
You can see as you look around, we're coming towards the final stages of construction. You are now in what will be the waiting center for the new dental center here.
Before I started actually at the health center, a team of dental public health residents from Harvard School of Dental Medicine came to the health center and did a needs assessment of our patients. They saw that 1 in 3 babies had visibly rotten teeth. And by the age of 9, 8 out of 10 children already had cavities. And 7 out of 10 working age adults had active, untreated cavities. So we must address the unmet dental needs of our patients to meet our mission of ensuring the overall health and well-being of the community we serve.
Just last year, our doctors had to refer approximately 5,000 patients out because we were not able to offer that service here at our center. I'm excited, extremely excited, to launch the Eye Care Center in 2018, not only to offer those patients the eye care services that we have available, but in a culturally competent environment, as well as a patient-centric environment.
So for the more simple prescriptions, children and adults will be able to walk out with a pair of glasses on the very same day. And what's really cool is that we will have a window in our waiting room so that our patients can watch their glasses being made.
Jody, we are overwhelmed. $1 million. This is unbelievable for us. We are so thankful, and we will do you proud and the hospital proud. I want you to know that.
But it's Lowell Community Health Center in partnership with Jody, with Lowell General, that is making a difference. You are the prime example of how we can do healthcare right.
I am so proud to say that our close association with Circle Health has flourished for almost 50 years. And that is one of the things that is so special about Lowell, is that the healthcare providers, the nonprofit community here, we have this fierce determination to continually work together to improve our city, our community, and the health of our community.
The health center became an independent nonprofit in 1985. The $1 million grant from Circle Health Lowell General Hospital gives the health center a huge boost in reaching their $3 million fundraising goal. They plan to open the dental and vision centers in February. The UMass Lowell Center for Women and Work hosted a holiday fundraising event on November 30th at the UMass Lowell Inn and Conference Center. The event was called Women's Works, a celebration of the creativity of women, and it featured local arts, crafts, and performances.
This is an annual event that's sponsored by the Center for Women in Work. And the Center for Women in Work is a research center at UMass Lowell focused on issues related to equity and social justice, particularly focused on women, but also intersections. So it's a very broad-based research center, but part of our mission is also to celebrate the creativity of women. So this event is a fundraiser for CWW, but it's also a way to celebrate the creative, the whole person of women, and the way in which our creativity is part of what we do both in work and outside of work.
It started in 2007 as a way to highlight the hidden talents of women on campus. So we have professors who teach English but do amazing knitwork, that type of thing, kind of to celebrate the whole person, to show that there's many pieces of us.
When I was younger, I always thought about doing things that were related to architecture, and one that was realistic for somebody who retired. And so this started very, very slow. We only had a few things at the first fair, but now we're doing much more.
My mom works at the Center for Women in Work, and so we got introduced to this fair from her.
We've been here since we were 7. Each year we usually do something different. In years past we've done a lot of baking stuff, and this year we had a bunch of old frames, so we put artwork in them that we made.
One of the cool things about the day and about everything that's here is it's a fundraiser for one of the most important centers on campus, the Center for Women in Work. So when I was asked to raffle off a couple of history walks, I said, yeah, for sure, that'll be, and so far it's looking good. We're raising a lot of money for these 2 walks, so I'm excited to be able to do it.
Sexual harassment in the workplace has become an important national topic. The research done by the Center for Women in Work is adding to our understanding of gendered conditions of work. In this week's Sunspot, Lowell Sun Enterprise editor Chris Scott sits down with the top vote-getter in November's City Council election, Vesna Noon.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Chris Scott from The Sun, the enterprise editor of the newspaper. Thanks for tuning in to this week's edition of Sunspot. I hope you're all prepared for the holidays coming up. Merry Christmas to all of you. With me today is Vesna Noon. Vesna, thanks for coming in.
Thank you, Chris.
We've known each other for a long time.
Thank you very much.
I remember when you used to try to get elected to the school committee and you couldn't do it. But now you've been elected to the city council for the second time after in the November vote.
Yeah.
In the September primary, you finished 4th, but then you vaulted to number 1 in the final election. Tell me and tell our viewers, if you could, what do you attribute that to? And then we'll try to hit a few other subjects as well.
First, I cannot thank the voter enough, and I am very humble and excited to go back on the council and to work on the futures, address the futures of Lowell and how we should heading. Well, partly, after we preliminary election, we placed 4th. We didn't stop. We continue. Some of the areas, some of the neighborhood, we even take a second take, meaning we going back, knocking on the door for a second time.
Like which neighborhoods did you do that in?
The Highland, Upper and the whole Highland, and the Belvedere's. We did the Centerville and other areas, but we didn't do a second take. But the only 2 areas that we did second take was the Belvedere's and the Highland. And I think the movement also helped. Movement meaning that the same.
What movement was that, Vesna? I'm not aware of any movement in the election.
The Save Lowell Heights and the downtown movement. So it's certainly they've been very helpful and been such a great partner. So
to clear up any misconception that anyone might have, you are clearly a downtown person who favors option 3.
I am, and I was 2 years ago. I think the issue of the high school is not just, we didn't just learn about wanting the high school, new high school last year or a few months ago. We knew about this for about 2 years ago, the last election. I even said if you go back and saying that I support the high school to remain in downtown.
But again, it's not just a downtown issue. It's the other part of that is the option 3, which would require an eminent domain taking of a very vibrant, well attended city business. So how can you justify that?
Well, the eminent domain part of it. I mean, whether you're going to Cawley or here, there will be eminent domain taken, right? No one, myself included, wanted to take businesses that doing services for the community for years. No one wanted to do that. But you do it because of the best interest of the city and of all the students in the city of Lowell. We talk about the reason for option 3 is because everyone don't want a disruption, interruption for the student during classroom, during learning. So the explanation is that my understanding and what I internal is that the option 3 basically will clear away of a portable classroom, will clear away of any disruption, interruption. And that's why it's more safe, less disrupt, if anything, no disruption to the student. That is why option 3 is better than option 2 and 1. And that's why I'm for that.
Once the new city council takes office in early January, it appears that the council will have to vote again in support of downtown option 3. Do you envision any scenario where maybe that one is slid off the table and option 2 becomes the preferred method for downtown renovation?
I think the voter has spoken and they're clear about it. They're clear that they want the high school to remain downtown, and they want option 3. And if you just look at the number of the council that elected to, it spoke right there, and also the non-binding referendum is also is an indication of that as well. You have 60+% in supporting of downtown in option 3. And now it's incumbent on the council, to vote to endorse that referendum.
You've been through a very divisive election battle, as has all the candidates and all the men and women who eventually did get elected. Do you envision a scenario where everybody can kind of get behind one option, or do you still think that this will be bitter to the very end? And do you even have in the back of your mind, geez, maybe this thing is never going to happen. It's just too bitter, and people can't agree.
I have no doubt that will happen. I think the next leader of the council and the council themselves need to bring that divisiveness and turn it into something collaborative and productive for everyone. And I think the council can do that.
Some of your opponents during the election were critical of the city manager and were critical of the school superintendent for not taking a more definitive leadership roles as the debate rolled out on the high school. Do you share that same concern? And if so, what do you think the future has in store for City Manager Kevin Murphy and the Lowell School Superintendent Salal Kafawi?
I have not haven't worked with the manager in the past, but
I'm sorry, you have or haven't?
I have not.
Have not.
And I think the manager just take direction from the council, and I would have wanted to see the school committee get involved more at the beginning. But that's hindsight. Going forward, I hope, I'm looking forward to have the school committee get more involved in the high school project.
Talking about the school committee and the city council, we're filming this show in early December, and it's not going to air for another week or two.
Right.
But there's been a lot of mayoral shenanigans happening. Where do you stand on the whole issue of the city's next mayor? And are you with Bill Samaras? Are you with Ed Kennedy? Do you think Ed Kennedy's trying to squeak in there with another term, or are you for John Leahy?
I have spoken to both Bill Samaras, Councilor Samaras, and Councilor Leahy. Sit down with them and hear their vision for the city, and tell them what my vision is for the city. I want a city that is more open, transparent, and this openness and transparent need to start from beginning in all the process and all the things that we do as a city. Whether making our streets safer or our government is more open and diverse. Those are some of the things. Economic development, the same thing. And so I like to see more of that. So I had an opportunity sitting down with both of them, and they share with me their vision.
So whose vision are you more impressed with, Vesna?
Well, at this point, I have not. I'm leaning toward. I'm leaning one direction, but I have.
And that's toward Councilor Samaras, correct?
I have not. Really called either one of the council. One that I support and one that I'm not. So I'm still keep it, tight a little bit, and maybe by next week or so I'll do that.
Right, but you have been on record, I believe, or at least Councilor Samaras has been on record saying that you're in his camp.
I'm leaning toward Councilor Samaras, but you know what? I had opportunities because I spoke with Councilor Samaras first, so I didn't get a chance to speak. I told Councilor Samaras, look, I like your idea, but I have yet to speak with Councilor Leahy, which I did last Friday. And I also had opportunities as well. Spoke with Mayor Kennedy. And Mayor Kennedy didn't say that he's a candidate, and he hasn't said it from beginning. But, you could be right that, he's waiting to see, if either councilor didn't get a 5 vote, he'd probably squish in, right? Trying to get it himself one more term, which, he'd be a good candidate as well. So.
Well, just one last thought on the mayor's race, and we can move on. But it's interesting to note that Rita Mercier has allegedly sided with John Leahy when she said earlier that she couldn't be with any candidate who was for option 3. But last I knew, John Leahy was for option 3. So that's why I'm leaning toward neither candidate. I guess what I'm seeing is a mayor's race that is just not decided yet. Now, we'll have to see as we get through the holidays and toward January 2nd.
You're totally right. I don't think the mayor race has been decided, despite the fact that Councilor Leahy has made the announcement. I know you heard the press release from the mayor as to where he stands on it. He hasn't made up his mind yet either. So,
And so what did you say off camera? I think you said something like jokingly, well, it's Lowell.
Well, it's low politic, you know. I mean, it really is. You know, I learned quite a bit, you know, over the years, and you know. So,
all right, Vesna, let's just move on for a couple of other things too. If you could just hit on a couple of your top objectives, if you could. I know public safety has always been one,
right.
but there's been a little bit of controversy with that. We don't have to get into all of that again, but it is there. Just tell us what a couple of your objectives are.
Well, you know, a number of issues is one of which is, you know, that the matters of current voting system is pending in court. I'd like to get that resolved out of court. I'd like to, you know, as a council, I'd like to move that out of court and resolve it as fast as we can.
Would you like to see a different way of councilor representation?
I think when I spoke to the managers, you know, after my election, you know, the manager called and he said, you know, come in, you know, let me, you know, give you an overview of what's going on and stuff like that. So I did also ask him about the current voting thing. So he said to me that, you know, we're looking at some of the model, let's say Worcester was one of the model that he's saying that it might be work for Lowell. So those are something that we could look at and resolve it.
Would you like to see some specific representation though?
You know, it's good to have, I mean, because if you recall many years ago, now President Mann of UMass said that our current voting system does not ensure that everyone be represented.
Right. Okay.
And I think council now had ad hoc and council now, most of the council kind of, you know, concur with that and say, let's do something about it. Let's make it more representative of the.
Okay, we have about a minute and a half left, maybe a little bit less. We talked off here a little bit about your occupation as a member of the Sex Offender Registry Board. As we said, the day after the preliminary election, there was a critical audit that came out of the board by Suzanne Bump, who was the state auditor, that raised some questions about that, about the way things are operated there. So what was your reaction to that? And do you think that the members of the board share any responsibility there, or is it in another part of the sex offender registry operation that doesn't affect the board members? Can you address that, please?
When the audit report came out and really critical of the agency, and the agency did as an auditee respond to it. And I think the auditor report, the auditor doesn't really understand the role of the agency, really, because the role of the agency as the Secretary of Public Safety, Dan Bennett, stated that we are not the enforcement agency. Right? We do not go look for a sex offender. What we do is that we review all the case and we make preliminary classification, we conduct hearing, we make final classification of an offender, say whatever level he or she, in most 99% of the cases he. And then the police department then would, you know, they have to report it. They have to report it every year.
We have to wrap it up. Yeah,
yes.
Go ahead. Yep.
They have to report every year, and if the sex offender do not do that, they're in violation. The police go look for them. It's not the registry board doing that. It's not the registry board job. So all my board members and staff are doing what they're supposed to do.
There we go. Okay. Vesna, unfortunately, we've had 13, 14 minutes. I appreciate you coming in.
Thank you.
Yep. It'll be nice working with you in the next couple years, and good luck.
I'm looking forward to. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for tuning in to this week's edition of Sunspot. We'll be back after the first of the year with some more interviews with Lowell's Movers and Shakers. Have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
That's it for this edition of LTC News. You can find us on LTC channels 899, online at ltc.org, or get the link on Facebook. I'm Alana Flood. Thank you for joining us.
This world needs a revolution, and this time, not with war as a solution, we need recreation. New twists and new changes to build a new nation, and I personally want a nation that will not be dominated by hip-hop, where the Wayne only speaks about licking our sisters like wet lollipops. Where music is what we're listening to in the background, vocals will not be gunshots, where police sirens won't sing the harmonies, or the lead singer will not become deaf and silence. And when it comes to